In this lesson, we'll be looking at decimal notation. We have several objectives today, and this will be one of our longer lessons. We want to write word names for decimal notations. We want to convert decimal notation to fraction notation. Then we will convert fraction notation to decimal notation. We will order decimals using less than and greater than symbols. And then we will round decimals. Like I said, one of our longer lessons. So let's begin with writing word names for decimal notations. For us to do this, let me first of all give you a place value chart. And I realize that a lot of you are familiar with this, but I just want to remind you of some things. I've started here at the hundreds position. Obviously there's thousands and 10,000s and 100,000s further on out, but I've started with the hundreds, then the tens, the ones. Please remember that your decimal would normally appear right there. Then you would have your tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, and 100,000ths. And I'm really trying to emphasize that TH on the end of those so that you hear the difference in those words. Now, let me give you a number, and you'll notice I've put it into your chart at the right position. Your decimal is right here in between. And so what we want to do now is learn how to read this number correctly. And I know that you're thinking, oh my goodness, I know how to read the number. But I do want to point out a couple of things to you. The decimal will be read as the word AND. There's not another AND anywhere else in this. So let's talk about how it would read. I would say 326 and 49,857 hundred thousandths. Let me write that out for you so you can see it. 326, there's your decimal, and 49,857 hundred thousandths. Let's look at one more of those. This time I want to give you the place value chart again. Notice that I added another column. I added the thousands column, and I'm going to put in a number this time. I want to read that number correctly. Remember, the word AND will come right there. So this one would be 4,241 and 65, and then right here we ended with hundredths. Let me write it out for you. 4,241 and 65 hundredths. Now I want us to look at converting decimal notation to fraction notation. So let's look at the steps for doing this. First of all, we will count the number of decimal places. We'll move the decimal that many places to the right, and we'll write the result over a denominator with a 1 followed by that number of zeros. Now I know that sounds kind of confusing, so let's look at an example. If I give you 2,479 10,000ths, and I want to write that now as a fraction. The way we do that is to, first of all, count the number of decimal places. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it says we are to move the decimal point that many places to the right. So the decimal is going to move all the way to the end right here. And then it says write that result over a denominator with a 1 followed by that number of zeros. Well, when we do that, we have 2479. The number of zeros is 4, and there they are right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 2,479 10,000ths. Let's look at a couple more examples of this. If I give you this number and I ask you to convert it to a fraction, first of all, I'm going to count how many decimal places I have. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to move the decimal that far, and then the denominator will be 1 followed by 3 zeros. So 253 thousandths. The next one is negative 5.06778. And I want to convert this to a fraction. Once again, I'm going to count the number of decimal places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will then write the numerator, moving the decimal 5 places to the right, and the denominator will be a 1 followed by 5 zeros. So I end up with negative 5.06778, and then I have a 1 followed by 5 zeros. Let's look at another problem. I have 2 and 56 hundredths. I will count the decimal places, and there are 2 of them. Move the decimal 2 places to the right, and the denominator will have 2 zeros. So 256 over 100, or 256 hundredths. Now we're going to convert fraction notation to decimal notation. Our steps will be to count the number of zeros, move the decimal point that many places to the left, and leave off the denominator. Now I want to point out to you that this time when we say we're converting fractions, the assumption is that all of the fractions we deal with have a 1 followed by some number of zeros. We're not talking about 2 over 3. We'll talk about that later. But every one of these fractions have as the denominator some multiple of 10. So let's start. It says count the number of zeros in the denominator. So I'm counting here and I get 1, 2, 3, 4. It says move the decimal point that many places to the left. Let me remind you, the decimal point is understood to be at the end, so I'm going to move it 4 places to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. When I do that, I get 0.2479 and leave off the denominator. So now I have converted this fraction to a decimal. 2,479 ten-thousandths. Let's look at some examples of that now. I have 373 over 1,000. Once again, count the number of zeros. I have 3 of them. Your decimal will move 3 places to the left, so I will get 0.373. I know that some of you are going to ask, is it necessary to write the leading zero? And while I may not think it's a big deal, in my math lab they will expect you to put that leading zero there, so just get used to writing that. Let's continue now with this one. I have how many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My decimal is understood to be right here. It will move 5 places to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so this time what we get is 3.06579. So notice it's not just a matter of moving the decimal all the way to the beginning. It doesn't always go that far. It goes as many places as you have zeros in the denominator. Then our last one is negative 276 over 100. I have 2 zeros, decimal place is right here. It will move 2 places to the left, and I will end up with negative 2 and 76 hundredths. Now what we want to look at is ordering decimals. When I talk about ordering decimals, I'm talking about putting in the symbols either less than or greater than. I think this will be the 3rd time we've used those symbols so far, so hopefully you're comfortable with the symbols. It's just a matter of knowing which one to put where. So when we look at this, one thing I want you to notice is that there are only 3 digits to the right of the decimal here, and there are 4 digits here. I think it will help you if you will put that other 0 there. Then when I ask you which one of these is the smaller number, it becomes apparent that 29 is smaller than 30, so my smaller number would be here. Remember, the little end of that symbol will point to the smaller number. Let's take another pair of numbers. Now this time I have exactly the same number of digits to the right of the decimal, but let's compare. They each have a 3 first, followed by a 6, followed by a 2. So at this point you cannot tell which one is smaller. Then I have an 8 and a 9, and right there I can stop and tell you that this is the smaller of the 2 numbers and put the correct symbol in. Our last one is going to be negative 4.58 and negative 4.57. I want to remind you on this one, because it is negative, sometimes it's a little more confusing. Think about this for just a minute. If I were graphing this on a number line, I would move out here to negative 4, and 57 might take me to right here, but 58 would take me out here. So let me ask you, which one of these would be the smaller number? And it would be the 58. Remember, it's just the opposite of what you're expecting when you're dealing with those negative numbers. Our last order of business for the day will be to do rounding. What we want to look at first is the steps for rounding to a certain place. We will locate the digit in that place, we will consider the next digit to the right, and then we will follow these rules. If the digit to the right is 5 or higher, we will round the selected digit up. If the digit to the right is 4 or less, we will leave the selected digit as it is. So let's look at a number that we'd like to round. I need to tell you what position we want to round it to, and so I'll do that now. We want to round this one to the nearest thousandths. I want to remind you where that is in your place value chart. Thousandths are all the way over here. Decimal is right here, and it's the 3rd place. So the number I'm looking at is this one right here. So in step 1, when it tells me to locate the digit in that place, it's the 2. Then it tells me to consider the next digit to the right. That's the 9. And it's the 9 that is going to tell me what decision to make. If the digit to the right is 5 or higher, round the selected digit up. If the digit to the right is 4 or less, leave the selected digit as it is. I think this is a little confusing for some students because a lot of times we hear these words. If it's 5 or higher, round up, and if it's 4 or less, round down. I want to clarify for you. This 2, the decision to be made is whether or not it stays what it is or becomes a 3. There's not an option of rounding it down to a 1. So I've worded this specifically like this on purpose. We leave it as is if the number is 4 or less. So what I look at now is I look at the 9 and I say, is that number 5 or higher? The answer is yes, it is. So the 2 will round up. So when I do that, I get 0.363 rounded to the nearest thousandth. Please be careful that you notice whether or not this is thousand or thousandth, because it will make a huge difference in your rounding. Let's look at our next problem. I'm giving you a big long one here, and I'm going to tell you that I want you to round it to the nearest 100,000th. Let's find that on our chart. It's all the way over here at the 100,000th position. If this is your decimal, then I am 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the selected digit right here. That will be my 100,000th digit. What I'm to do now is locate that one. I've done that. And then consider the next digit to the right. I'm looking at this 9. If the digit to the right is 5 or higher, round the selected digit up. If the digit to the right is 4 or less, leave the selected digit as it is. Well, the 9, and that was just a coincidence that I picked another 9. The 9 is 5 or higher, so this 7 will become an 8. It rounds up. So the number would look like this, 0.37338. Let's look at some more examples. I've given you the rules again, and I've given you your place value chart. So let's look at this one. Really big ugly number, and let's see where it is we're going to round to. We're going to round to the nearest thousand. Right over here is where you find your thousand. If this is your decimal, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I go to the decimal, 1, 2, 3. There's my selected digit. It's a 4. This time it says consider the next digit to the right. The rules are still the same, whether I'm rounding to 1,000 or 1,000th. So I go to the next digit to the right, and if it is 5 or higher, I round the selected digit up. Well, in this case, it is a 5, so I will round this up. When I do that, you will need to notice that I do need to fill in the rest of this with zeros so that I get 75,000, not just 75. Let's look at another one. Another ugly decimal here, and this time I want to round to the nearest hundredth. Well, let me remind you, right here is tenth, right here's hundredth. That's my selected digit right there. I look to the right of it, and this one's going to tell me what to do. If it is 5 or higher, I round up. If it is 4 or less, I leave the digit as it is. Because the 3 is 4 or less, the 8 will stay exactly like it is, and so I will get 0.68. You'll really want to practice a few of these just to make sure that you have all these rules firmly in your mind. They're not hard, it's just a matter of practicing a little bit so that you can remember this stuff. That's all I have for you today. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.